So now that we've created some UVs for our shark, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what we've made. So you just want to make sure that you have Sharky selected. Come up to Window up here in the menus. We're going to go to UV Texture Editor. Alright, that's going to bring up this window right here, your UV Texture Editor. Moving around this window is kind of similar to the way you're moving around in 3D space in your scene window, okay? You can pan just the same way, alright? You can also zoom in and out. The only thing, of course, you can't do is rotate, okay? So what we're looking at here is basically a 2D representation of our 3D shark. So this is our shark as if it were flattened out and squashed, okay? Now, one thing that you'll want to go ahead and turn on as soon as you come into your UV Texture Editor window is going to be this little button right here, Toggle Shaded UV Display, okay? Once you do that, you're going to see some blue, some purple, some red, all these fun colors inside your UV set here, okay? And you can just click it again to turn it off if you want to. Now, you may not see this button right away. Sometimes your window will open smaller, or just might not be showing up. You can always click on these little bars to the side here, and they will open and close these little tiny menus. All right. So that way you should be able to find this button and go ahead and turn it on. Okay. Now, basically these colors represent the direction in which your UVs are facing, okay? So blue is a good color. Blue means our UVs are facing the correct direction, okay? So we want blue UVs all the time, all blue. Red UVs, like if we zoom in here, this red color means that these UVs are flipped upside down, okay? And if we see purple, that means that we've got some UVs that are facing the correct direction on top of or underneath some UVs that are facing the incorrect direction, okay? So we've got red ones and blue ones all kind of hanging out in the same space, and they just blend together to make that purple color, okay? So again, ideally what we actually want to have is all this nice blue color. We want to get rid of any areas that have red or purple going on, okay? Now, it's really important that each UV has its own space, all right, that we can draw on, okay? So basically we want to space all of these out so that the spacing is nice and even, and we have room to paint textures on the UVs, okay? So if we look a little closer here, this is actually our dorsal fin that we're looking at, all right? And we're kind of looking at it from an above view, okay? We're looking at it from the top. And when we look at it from the top, these UVs seem really, really thin and small. So you can kind of imagine on your 3D shark here, you can imagine that these UVs sort of correspond with the dorsal fin here. And when we're looking at it from above like this, we can kind of just see these really thin, small polygons, just like in our UV set here. But if we look at it from the side, we can see that they actually are polygons that have quite a bit of size to them. And we want to just kind of unfold that over here in our UV editor so that we can actually then paint on these polygons, okay? And this will make more sense once you actually start painting and trying things like that out, okay? But for now, just know that if there are polygons here on your 3D representation of your shark, you want them to also be represented here within your UV texture editor. So normally how you're going to fix those kind of problems is to right-click and hold over your UV texture editor window here, and you're going to go over and select UV. Okay. Now it doesn't really look like anything happens here. If you're looking at your 3D shark, you may see all the edges turn blue and these little brown vertices are showing up. Okay, that means you're in UV mode. And what you can do is just go ahead and start clicking and dragging, and that will select UVs. Okay. The next thing we usually want to do is to unfold or relax those UVs. Okay, and that's using this little tool right here, Smooth UV tool. Okay, so you can click on that, and when you do, this little yellow thing should pop up that says Unfold and Relax. You can click and drag this little yellow circle, and you can just kind of move that to wherever you want it to be. If it's in your way or something, you can just move it over. Now, what I have noticed with your project that is kind of not normal is that when we try and use the Unfold and Relax tool, it is actually not functioning, okay? And so we want to get that working again, because otherwise we're never going to be able to unfold all of these UVs. It would take a lifetime to do it all by hand. So I'm going to show you how I went about fixing it, alright? So that you can fix it in your project as well. So I'm just going to close the UV texture editor for a moment, and I'm going to put my mouse over the top of Sharky here. I'm just going to right click and hold and put him back into object mode. Okay, object mode, just like that. Click on him, and what we're going to do is delete the history of Sharky. Okay, and that's just a fancy way of saying that we're no longer going to keep in our memory of Sharky here all of the things that we did to get him to this point, all of this modeling that we've done with him, okay? So just to kind of better illustrate what I mean by that is every time we do something to Sharky, if we, move some vertices around or, do anything, it gets recorded. And if we look at our channel box and layer editor right here, we can see if we go down this area called inputs. And in this area, actually in chronological order, we can see a list of everything that we have done with Sharky so far. Okay, so we can go in and change all those things that we've done. But, after a while, after we've been modeling for quite some time, this list gets quite long. And it can cause Maya to run a little slowly or behave a little strangely after you get a big long list like that. So what we're going to do is just delete all of this history. Sharky will still look the same, but, we won't be hanging on to all of those little memories anymore. Okay, and it'll clear up Maya a little bit so it can function a little better. Alright, so to delete the history, we are just going to come up here to edit, okay? Delete all by type, and we're going to choose history. Okay, make sure you have Sharky selected when you do this. And when I do that, in my channel box right here, now the only input is shark body, okay? So we don't have that big long list anymore. So we've got kind of a clean slate. So let's go back into our UV texture editor. And I'm going to go back to UV mode. I'm going to grab these UVs around the dorsal fin. And we're going to try our smooth UV tool one more time. So just click on that. And to use the smooth UV tool, you can just choose a word. In this case, I'm going to choose relax. And just put your mouse pointer over the word relax. And you can just left click and drag. And you can see the effect there as I do that. If I drag it in one direction, it's going to start relaxing all those vertices there, or UVs, excuse me. If I drag it in the other direction, they'll go back to the way they were, okay? As soon as I let go of the mouse button, it's going to go ahead and stick that way, all right? So and now you can see it's all kind of unfolded. Now if I use unfold, it's just kind of creating this big giant hole in the middle of my geometry, and just so you know, that is not normal. So I would recommend not using the unfold tool for this, okay? But you can still go ahead and achieve everything you need to achieve with this map just by using the relax tool, okay? So you shouldn't have to worry too much about the unfold tool kind of malfunctioning, all right? So again, just to illustrate how to do this, we'll just grab this area right here. This is the pectoral fin, okay? And we can relax that as well, okay? So now there's a lot more space for each of these individual polygons, okay? So before they were kind of overlapping one another here at the end, and they were kind of thin and long. Now they all each have their own individual space. They're all facing the right direction, okay? And that's what we want. So again, we can just go to the other pectoral fin over here. Just grab it. Use our relax tool to unfold it. You can see all the way down to super tiny the end of the fin here. It's all unfolded, okay? So we've got all this blue color. Now, you can also do that with these fins on the edges here. But just so you know, if I grab an edge, right? Like if I grab something that's along this outer edge here, and I try to use the relax tool, it's going to bring those outer edges in, okay? It's just going to try and bring those inwards. So make sure that when you're using this tool, go ahead and make sure you don't select anything that's on the very outermost edge, all right? That way when you use your relax tool, you won't be changing the shape of your edges here, okay? So if you do want to move an edge for some reason, you can of course just grab individual UVs and you can use your move tool to move them around where you want them to be. Or you can grab, you know, a bunch at once and move them around if you'd like, okay, like that. You can also scale them, all right? And rotate them, just like in 3D, okay? So up here, for example, we've got these overlapping UVs, and we also have kind of these sort of flyaway UVs that are way over here. You know, any that you see that are just hanging out way out in the middle of nowhere, you definitely want to go ahead and move. All right, so just grab those, pull them back, kind of in this sort of direction. So that you kind of see them a little bit better, all right? And anytime we see this red color, this means that these UVs are flipped over in the wrong direction, okay? So to alleviate that, you just kind of want to move them out and away in the opposite direction of where they're going right now, right? So I'm just moving these out. And if you see them turning blue, then you know you're heading in the right direction, okay? Blue UVs are good. So just go in, you know, to the edges here. This guy's on the very end. And you'll just want to pull them outwards. So it's a little bit like untangling spider web. Just kind of pulling these edges out. Sometimes you might have to get really, really close to be able to see which UVs you should be grabbing, all right? You'll be able to see things just a little bit better. You can get some areas like this one right here where things are a little jumbled up as well, okay? So just kind of experiment with pulling things apart, separating them. If you get these jumbled up areas, see if you can't kind of figure out where things might need to go. Or how things connect. And you can, once you've kind of separated out some of your edges, you can also try using the relax tool as well at this point on the inside here to see if you can unfold things a little bit. So, you know, once I grab some of those inner ones and just use the relax tool, it kind of untangles itself at that point, okay? So again, up here I can also grab some of these UVs, right? And just use that relax tool to pull those out. Up here as well, I might try it. See what happens. It's not too bad. Okay, so something strange has happened here, and that is that we've got these nice blue UVs leading all the way up until we get to about here where everything kind of appears to be untangled, and yet these UVs are facing the wrong direction at the top here, okay? So they're actually flipped over, not only in your UV mode here, but they're flipped over in your 3D scene as well, okay? And those actually, if we just grab a handful of these UVs, you should also see them lighting up on Sharky in your 3D mode. So I'm just going to grab those ones surrounding the red area, okay? And if we take a look, you might not be able to see this on my screen, but if you take a look on yours, you'll see these UVs right here around the nose have lit up, okay? So they are now green. These are these nose UVs, okay? And we have to actually, you know, we did talk a little bit about there being a couple little problems with the nose area, right? But we didn't actually go ahead and fix it. But we're gonna have to deal with it a little bit now to fix our UV problem over here. So basically, the UVs are flipped in the opposite direction of the way that they should be. So we have to go in to our 3D shark scene here and grab all of these faces that are causing the problem, okay? And that's going to be these 8 faces right here. And we have to do something that is called flipping the normals, alright? Normals is basically just something that's used to represent what is defined as the front side of a face and what is defined as the back side of a face, okay? So basically all of these faces around are facing outward. That Maya recognizes all of these faces around here as facing out, okay? But these faces with the problem, Maya recognizes as facing inwards, towards the inside of the shark, okay? So we just have to flip those around so that Maya can recognize them as facing outward with the rest of the faces on the shark, okay? So to do that, we're just going to, again, just grab those 8 faces. We're going to come up here to normals, and we're going to hit reverse, all right? And you can see as soon as I hit reverse, all of those guys with the problem there have turned blue, okay? Which is good, that's the color we want, definitely blue, all right? So that takes care of that. You will likely have the same or a very similar problem on the other side with these faces right here. So just remember that trick, just in case you run into it again anywhere. Okay. These as well have kind of an area where we've got these red faces. So again, you'll just want to pull them over. And once you've pulled over some of them, you can try using your relax tool. Okay, that one didn't do too much. As you start grabbing different groups, you'll start to kind of see where things will need to go. You can also take a look at the edge as well and sort out the edge first, and it can help you figure out where everything in the middle needs to go, okay? So if we just kind of follow this edge along and just come down here, we can see right here is where it starts to flip over and go the opposite direction, okay? So we don't want it to be flipping over. We want it to just continue as one nice straight edge, all right? So one way we can deal with that is to just move this up to make room. Let's move that up. And then we can move this guy up as well. Pull this out, move it up, and you're just kind of following along the edge here. It can be pretty tangled up at first, but if you just keep following along with this outer edge, you'll be able to untangle it. It can start to get a little messy. So again, if it gets too much, you can still use your relax tool to kind of deal with some of the chaos that's going on, all right? Just make it a little bit more manageable. Like that. All right. You can even bring things out a little bit if you need to, just to be able to make room to see the entire edge, okay? So just, again, just by sort of alternating between using my relax tool and moving edges around, I can start to untangle it. Okay, so at this point I have all blue, which is good. It is a little messy because it's coming out and going over here and wandering kind of off the edge there, right? So ideally I just want kind of a straight edge going across here, okay? So I can kind of move things over momentarily. Being careful to leave the end pieces, the edges there, where they are, okay? Just bring anything that isn't on the outer edge inwards. And we're going to just line up all of these outer edge pieces with the end of our UV space here, okay? I can also use the scale tool to kind of straighten out this outer edge line, alright, pretty quickly. I can use it here as well. I can just grab all of these and use my scale tool to bring these all into a perfectly straight line, alright? And then we can just grab all of those and move them to the end here. Okay, just like that. Now this area, of course, looks pretty messy now, so we want to make sure that we go back and grab all of those and some of the ones around as well, and use that relax tool again to just bring everything back shaped nicely. Okay, and we can also manually move these if we want to. If we don't like the results that the relax tool gives us, we can just move things around however we like. So I went ahead and finished untangling that area that we were looking at, where there were a whole lot of UVs really close to each other. And there really shouldn't be that many in this area, okay? So it's kind of an indication that there's a problem with the geometry, all right? So, for example, if I grab all these UVs that are kind of really super close to one another, it lights up this area in the mouth here. This is inside Sharky, okay, right where the upper and lower jaw meet, right? And the first problem that we can kind of see right away is that we've got these floating vertices hanging out right here and here. Okay, so there's two floating vertices just hanging out there. They don't have an edge that they're attached to. They're just kind of sitting in the middle of an edge. All right. So those are a problem. We don't want those. And if we just go ahead and pull that out, you can see that a face appears there, right? So this is actually just a face that's sitting right directly on top of this edge, okay? So we can't actually see it until we pull it out. That happened at some point during modeling, and now that it's there, we can't really see it, but it does cause problems for us when we're doing our UVing later on, okay? So you gotta watch out for things like that. We'll pull this out as well and kind of, so now we're just kind of untangling things here in 3D space as well, okay? So I'm just basically just kind of going around this area and grabbing vertices and pulling on them to see if extra faces appear, okay? They do. Here's another. So there's actually a whole bunch of them. So what I'm going to do is actually delete these extra faces, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start right here and just grab some of these faces that I have pulled out, okay? I'm just going to delete them. And there are more underneath them, so sometimes you know, you might have to, it'll seem like you're deleting the same faces twice, but you're actually deleting faces that were underneath those faces, okay? A lot of extra faces here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and delete these as well. And we're just going to reconnect to this area, okay? Now, once you have deleted those faces, you may see this edge kind of floating out in the middle of nowhere. Those are where those extra faces were sitting. Okay, so they're still there. Just hanging out. They're just right on top of one another, so they look like this really thin little edge. Until you start pulling on vertices, okay? So you'll just want to go in and go along this edge in vertex mode and just start pulling things out, alright? Just like we were doing before. And then we're going to go back to face mode and start grabbing some of these extra faces and deleting them. Okay. Until you don't see that floating edge anymore, alright? And as you can see, that's made a pretty big gap in our UVs there, okay? So, let's go ahead and reconnect this area, okay? What we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and use the Merge Vertex tool, okay? So I'm gonna come up to Edit Mesh. We're gonna go with Merge Vertex tool right here, all right? And I can now just click and drag these vertices together, okay, and that's going to connect those two faces and just close that gap that we created up, okay? Just clicking and dragging, closing this gap, okay? And right here you might notice, I kind of deleted one face too many, so I've got this empty space still here. So to fix that one, I'm just going to go to edge mode, grab this edge over on the end of the gap here. I'm going to go to edit mesh, extrude. And it's very important as soon as you do an extrusion to move the face that you have extruded, okay, immediately before you click off or do anything else, because if you don't, you may wind up with those edges on top of edges or faces on top of faces, just like the problem that we are, trying to fix right now. That was likely caused by doing some extrusions without then immediately moving your extrusion, alright? It's a difficult problem to detect later on, cause all kind of problems, so it's very important to take care of that. So once we've pulled this out, then we can again go to our Merge Vertex tool. We can just click and drag these to close this gap, okay? Boop. Just like that. Okay, so that's all closed up on Sharky, and we no longer have any extra faces pulling out from anywhere, okay? Now that hasn't really fixed our UVs, okay? So we'll want to fix those. We can go to edge mode here in our UV window, and whenever we select an edge anywhere on Sharky, if there's kind of a gap between where that edge is, there will be a corresponding edge that lights up as well. Okay, so if I click on this edge, you can see that the edge right down here lights up as well, okay? That's because both of those areas represent the same edge. Alright, so I guess what I mean by that is if I grab this face on the top here, okay, we can see it lights up, and it's got this edge, which represents this edge right here, okay? Now, on the other side of that edge is another face right here, okay, and you can see that lights up, this face. And this edge right here is also representative of this edge, okay? So we've got the face on one side of the edge and the face on the other side of the edge. So even though these are in two separate places on our UVs, these actually represent the same edge, okay? And so they should be sewn together, is kind of the sum of all that. So to sew them together, we can just go to UV mode, and we'll want to kind of just move the UVs into place close to one another where we want them to be in preparation for sewing the edges, okay? And we could just go to edge mode here, grab the edges, or edge, however you want to look at it, and there's a little button up here called Sew UVs, alright? And it looks like a little square with a needle, alright? So you just click on that with the edge selected, and it just sews them right together. So now they are connected in our UV window, okay? So again, you can just go along and check to see where corresponding edges are, and just move your UVs into place so that you're ready to sew them together, okay? Something like that. And just grab those edges, and you can grab more than one at a time if you want to, and just hit sew. And it's going to sew them together, okay? So we now have fixed that problem area, and we've closed that gap, and our UVs look really nice, right? So that's good. Now, you might have the same problem on the other side. Now that we've kind of fixed that all the way across the jaw, that shouldn't really be happening again over here, but at least, if it does happen again, you know how to fix it now. All right. Another thing you'll want to take a look at is this area right here in the center, okay? We're actually going to want to bring these two sides together and kind of sew them up in the center here, all right? So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. We're going to start by unfolding this side, all right, because we still have it folded up at the moment. I'm just going to start moving some things out. Sort of establish my outer edges the best I can. And again, it does help to get really close sometimes. Let's pull those out towards the middle. And just make sure whenever you have something that's really close, UVs that are really close to one another, that you do kind of pull them out from one another and separate them so that you can see better. Okay? And if it's getting pretty tangled up, again, the relax tool is your friend. Start relaxing things. So here again we see this problem that we encountered before, where we have these UVs that are all untangled but are still flipped over. Okay, so they're just facing the wrong way. This is on the nose again. Okay. Right here in this area. Okay, if we grab the UVs, we can see them start lighting up in this nose area right here. So we'll want to again go to face mode, grab all these faces that are flipped over the wrong direction, come up to normals, and we're going to hit reverse. That's going to pop them back into facing the right direction. All right. So once I've done that, I want to bring these two sides together to join up in the middle here. Okay, so I can start by looking at an edge, for example this one right here. Okay, and anywhere where I see these edges lighting up and there's no corresponding edge lighting up, I know that edge is already sewn to its partner edge, okay, so it doesn't need to be sewn or moved or anything. But as soon as I click on an edge and I see another one light up, for example, this one is lighting up right here, this is its corresponding edge, that's when I know I want to start sewing those edges together and bringing them closer to one another, okay? So I know that these two edges correspond, so I can start kind of moving them closer to one another in preparation for sewing them together. Now this one needs a little sewing over here as well. Okay, so you want to make sure you grab that and just sew those together. Okay, and then we can kind of move on up the line. We click on the next one here as it's veering off. You can see on either side, kind of like a zipper, these two correspond with one another. So again, just move them into the center. And you can, you can keep going and do a few of them at a time, moving them closer to one another. Just grabbing a few of them and sewing them together. And this is a point where you may want to use your relax tool again, because as you can see, we've got these kind of super long, thin, stretched UVs going on. We don't really want that. We want things to be kind of evenly spaced, so we can grab a bunch of them on either side and use our relax tool to help even that out again, okay? Just make sure that you're not grabbing anything that's on the very outer edges, all right? Make sure you're only grabbing things on the inside. Use your relax tool, and it'll help space things out nicely, okay? So that's pretty much it. You're just, moving things and adjusting your spacing, moving things, adjusting the spacing. Grabbing UVs and relaxing them. Or grabbing individual ones and moving them to just space things out as evenly as you possibly can. Okay, so something like that is what it should look like at the top there. So I'm going to leave it to you to try to untangle these fins at the bottom here. Okay, this is the tail fin area. You're going to want to bring these ones that are facing the wrong way inwards towards the center, and you'll want to sew up that center line, sew it all together, okay? And you'll also want to come in and untangle, for example, this fin area right here, as well as these little side fins, okay? Using the techniques that we've been going over. All right, so that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions about any of this, and we'll go over it. All right, and that's it for now. So thank you for watching. I hope that helps, and happy UV mapping.